Okay. Good morning. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. We're solving the world's problems and bringing you the world of entertainment news one way. Oh, God. I'm Roth.
Hello.
Dan. Spencer. Roxy is here. I am very delighted about our day ahead. We have a lot to talk about. Kelly Marie Tran has responded after she dropped off of social media. Hemsworth, the Chris Hemsworth, who Dan loves as the most superior Chris.
The best Chris, yes.
He's the second best Chris. He talked about Thor 2. We have to bond or not to bond. Who's your Chris?
Evans.
There you go.
Yeah, we bond on that.
I'm Pratt.
Sure.
We're completely split.
All right.
Joe's Pine, but who cares?
Who cares?
About either. No, about Joe and Pine.
Kelly Marie Tran speaks out. This is via the New York Times and Slate. There was an op-ed in the New York Times in which she responded to her decision to exit social media after a series of attacks, largely inspired by people's feelings around Star Wars The Last Jedi and her character. Here's just a couple of excerpts of what she said. She said, quote, their words, it wasn't so much that she, this I thought was a very interesting distinction that we'll get into. She said it wasn't so much about necessarily the comments themselves, but the fact that they began to inform how she felt about herself. I find that to be true as well on a much smaller scale, so I can only imagine what that was like. So she said, their words seemed to confirm their words seem to confirm what growing up as a woman and a person of color already taught me. That I belonged in margins and spaces valid only as a minor character in their lives. She sort of also went on to share her feelings growing up and her family, who were Vietnamese, who felt obliged to take on Western names and sort of being made to feel lesser than her peers throughout her life, and how this kind of echoed that for her. So she uses the name Kelly Marie Tran. Professionally, her real name is Loan Tran. So she said, I want to live in a world where children of color don't spend their entire adolescence wishing to be white. I want to live in a world where women are not subjected to scrutiny for their appearance or their actions or their general existence. I want to live in a world where people of all races, religions, socioeconomic classes, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities are seen as what they always have been, human beings. My real name is Lone, and I am just getting started. Seems like she's in a really great place.
Yeah. It was a very well written op-ed. I read the whole thing. It was super sweet, and I'm happy for her. And it seems like she's bounced back and her head's in the right place. And I think for her and for everyone, there's this growing acknowledgement that social media is mind poison that will give you early onset dementia.
Sure.
And it's an abyss, and when you stare too long into the abyss stares back. So we should all follow her example and get off.
I don't find that the abyss stares back. I find that you whisper into it and it screams back at high volumes.
Yeah.
Roxy?
Yeah, I thought this was beautifully written. I cried. My heart goes out to her, and honestly, my heart goes out to everybody that deals with this, which seems like everybody. It's great that she did respond and that she took the time to figure out what it is she wanted to say. And I agree with you, Roth, that I agree with Kelly Marie Tran, that it's not what they're saying, it's how you feel about yourself. And if enough people tell you you have a tail, you turn around and you check.
Yeah.
And to all our trolls that harassed her off of Twitter or Instagram, she just leveled up to the ultimate social media network, which is the New York Times op-ed page.
Yeah.
Suck it, haters.
Dan, what's your take?
No, I think that's a very powerful message. I'm glad that she came back on her terms because I know, we've covered the story. It's been a couple months or a few months now. We covered the story extensively, and in reading some of the response, a lot of it was supportive, and then there were a lot of people that just didn't want to acknowledge that this had anything to do with, just like, well, she never confirmed that it was, so you're all jumping to conclusions. This is a fake story based on it's just. So I'm glad that she came back on her terms and not on the terms of people, because I'm sure there are a lot of people saying, like, you need to speak out, you need to talk about what happened, you need to talk about what happened. I'm glad that she wrote something herself, and again, it's not a message of anger, it's a message of optimism. It's a message, I think, of anger at what has transpired, but not in a sense of like, I'm out to get vengeance. It's just a very wonderful sentiment in this idea of, I'm not going to allow these words anymore to shape who I am, because I know who I am and I know what I want the world to be, and I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great sentiment, to not sort of write a polemic on social media, which I'm sure she could have done, and it would have been very well received if she'd just written a very long op-ed about the toxicity that social media can bring, and instead she chose to look forward. So I think that's wonderful. That's certainly more than I probably would have been able to do. I probably would have been like finding addresses and trying to find out who these people were.
And having Jay,
What's wrong with you?
having Jay and Silent Bob
Exactly.
show up at their house. I agree with everything everyone's saying. It sounds that she's taken this experience and in a weird way, it's allowed her to kind of like excavate those insecurities. I'm not saying it was a good thing and it should have been done, because neither of those things are true. But what she's been able to do is take that lead and turn it into gold. Corny, don't care. But for herself, and let it lead to a better place in herself. Because where, Roxy, what we were saying before is, and we can't even imagine, I can't even imagine what someone like in Kelly Marie Tran's position, who has that level of attention on her, is enduring or has endured. But even in the small space that we're in, it's always it's never the things that I kind of don't agree with that get to me. If you're like, you're a bimbo, I'm like, okay, I'm just not. But it's the things that I already feel insecure about that will land and sort of weigh in and elevate those insecurities and start to inform behavior, how you feel about yourself, how you interact. They can really dampen your mood. So if you're able, one option is to just shut yourself off from it, which I think is a healthy option. And the other option is, I think, to do what she's done and push back and this is me, and basically take it or leave it.
Yeah, but not pushing back by finding every person tweeting back at them being piss off, piss off, piss off. By just like, I heard what you guys said, it affected me, and here is my response to the people who said these things.
Yeah.
And to everybody. So yeah.
You can't control what other people think of you either. It's none of your business.
And I think it's great that she was pulled relatively from obscurity into this. This has been less than a year, believe it or not. It seems like so much longer, but it's been less than a year since that movie opened, and she was pulled from obscurity essentially to be in this film, and to look at her journey just in this past year, and to come out at this point and be so optimistic, I think is that's great. Yeah. It's great that this was, it's terrible to read that something that should be a lifetime experience, the break of your career, something that she was obviously so excited about, could in any way be negative. And so I love that she sort of turned it into a positive, at least a positive outlook for the future, and not, this was ruined for me.
Yeah.
Also, not as relevant, but I think she did a great job. So like, it's so frustrating that she has been at it. She's been in her acting classes. She, like any other person who came out here with a dream, she took classes, she learned her craft. She was in the biggest thing that you could possibly be in, probably. And she did the best with the material that she was given that I think she possibly could have done. So what
it's almost
more
like it wasn't about her performance
at all,
Yeah.
at all. And that's why
puzzling.
that's why it's frustrating. And I'm sure she's frustrated, because she's like, I came here, I studied, I learned, I performed, and they hate me because what?
Well, because what? And that's what I think what she's speaking to here, which is for existing. Right. And that's the baseline problem with it. And I think we talk about social media a lot around here. So it can do great things, there are really good things about social media, but I do think we're going to be looking at a very different kind of social media, especially around celebrities, in the next 5 or 10 years, because I think they felt a lot of pressure to join.
Can it do great things? There's like Batman Kid.
Well,
No,
okay.
and then
did
nothing.
things. Like
I don't want to get too high. There's like the Arab Spring. There's like the ability to get information out of places that information would otherwise be hard to get out.
Even in our space, Christian Harloff was talking about this on Collider the other day. He lost his brother a couple of weeks ago, and they were really struggling with finances about how to put on the funeral and take care of the passing of his brother. And social media raise that money for him. So it definitely can bring people
That's
together.
true. It has become our de facto healthcare provider.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
well, sadly, but it's true. You can support causes. You can support people that you care about. Our friend John Schnutt passed away recently, and there was a big campaign and you still can support Holly, his fiance. So, like,
yeah.
I think there's a number of good things that can and do come out of social media.
And I think that the thing that people need to sort of rewire their brains about, I think the most is the concept of like, just, and I said it before, but it's empathy. And it's not just people that attacked her because of her race or because of her gender. It's also people that don't seem to really comprehend that it is really disheartening for someone to tweet even like at Kelly Marie Tran, your character sucked and you were the worst, and Rose was the worst part of the movie. Like, your performance was okay, but I hated your character's addition to the movie. And there's people that would tweet that, and then if they got pushed back, be like, what? I didn't insult them. Like, I just said that I hated her character. I don't see what the problem is. And I think that's where people need to rewire their brain. Like I feel like there's the worst of the worst who just spew every kind of
pure fiery hate,
just pure, yeah, exactly, pure fire hate. And I mean, there's unfortunately for most of them, there's no talking to them. That's just gonna be what they do. But I think that there's a large swath of people that legitimately, it's happened to me before. It's just like, you know, they'll shoot me like, hey, you know, you missed this on charting. I thought you were supposed to be an expert. You should really know better than to do that. And if I'll tweet them back, they're like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the show. I just thought that you should know the information. It's like, you don't understand how when you tweet something like that or send it to somebody that might hit that person, it's just like, well, shit. Like, why do I, you know, it makes you question, like, if you're going to get picked apart like that, why do you even bother?
How about the initial tweet? It was like, hey, Dan, love the show. Just so you know, I think the actual number was XYZ.
And
like,
people do that all the time. And I'm we did it
got
on
that around
yesterday's
Denis
show.
Villeneuve, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get like that kind of stuff is fine. It's like, hey, watch the show. I noticed that you said this. I think maybe you got that mixed up. And we acknowledge that stuff all the time because nobody's perfect. But it's people just don't even necessarily comprehend sometimes that even the tone of what you're saying can really hit somebody in a negative way, that they don't understand, that like saying like, what, I just tweeted her that her character sucked. I didn't insult her. I don't see what the problem is. Like, but when you tweet somebody and say like, that character that you did sucked and was the worst part of the movie, yeah, that's you know, that's bad too. It's you have to realize that you're talking to real people, and I think that's where the rewiring has to come in a lot of times.
But
Yeah.
we live in a narcissistic society where, aside from money, the only currency is attention, and people can't tell the difference between good and bad attention. They just want attention. Like, notice me. I don't care if it made you feel good or bad, but I got a response out of Dan.
Well, it's working.
Yeah,
You get a response out of us. So.
Well,
But
and there's-
ironically, they're going to drive people to pay less attention to social media. If I'm being honest, it's driven me to pay
Net
less
positive,
attention to social media.
burn Twitter to the ground and Facebook, flourishing humanity's next golden age.
What happened to Instagram? You're not even on that one.
or
Yeah.
Facebook, but yeah, we can live free again.
I do think a lot of people, once they get to the point in their careers that they can do this, which ostensibly speaking, you would think almost anyone that is in a Star War could be at this point in their career, just won't bother.
Yeah.
You know, just won't be on social media. And because
It'll be all baby boomers.
Yeah,
Just
well,
like,
I mean,
I don't get
I don't know
it.
what's going on.
It'll be all Ron Howard.
Then I'll go back on it. That's when I'll rejoin social
I mean,
media.
in Star Wars movies,
Oh, in
only
Star
people too
Wars
old
movies.
for
Okay.
social media.
It's just the compulsion to share every thought with somebody.
I thought you meant on social media. I want to go to the all like your parents' social media,
Yeah.
where they're just like
There should be a retirement home.
where they don't quite know how to use it, and all of the tweets are like half made with like, "Is this a gift?
Yeah.
I'm tweeting. I think I'm texting you
Call
right now.
grandma.
How do I use the DVR again? Why do you still have a DVR, Mom?
There
What's
should be
going on?
like those like captchas. It's like, can you identify Nicki Minaj? And like, no. Okay, here you go.
It's not just the older people. I do this all the time. Like, I don't feel millennial enough. I went to see a movie yesterday. I put my phone down. I never look at my phone during a movie. I picked it
Yes.
up afterwards when the movie was done, and my phone had sent 50 things to people. Like, I don't know whether it was leaning on something or whatever. But like, I started taking pictures of things and sending it to people that I don't even know what they were of.
I think your phone is possessed. Is what's happened. That's what we're
People
learning.
were like, huh? What? And I was like, I don't know. I wasn't on my phone.
I will say I'm at the point where somebody said something to me the other day in a text, and I had to like Google it and triangulate with Billy and Max to figure out what it meant, because I just didn't. It was just like a phrase that I didn't understand, and that
Thanos
happens.
is a snack. What was it?
It was Thanos is a
Oh, really?
snack, and I just really wasn't clear.
Does that mean he's cute? Thanos is
Yeah, something like
a
that.
hottie.
what we were talking about.
I learned minging. Do you guys know that one? Somebody texted me that. It means foul smelling.
Minging.
Minging.
Oh, because
They're
there's
like,
that.
oh, this is minging. And
There's
I
a
was
great British slang of you're a
Google.
minger.
Yeah, that's what it is. It was
Okay.
a British
Wow.
friend. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I don't know anything.
Well, I think there's a difference between not knowing slang from other countries and just not knowing the things
Sure.
that people are currently saying, like
Yes.
casually enough in your own nation to text it to you.
Snack.
We need a tween
Just-
correspondent.
We really do.
Kick it to the tween. Yeah.
What did you think it could have meant, Roth?
I thought it could mean, I truly didn't know what it meant. I had no idea. It was just 2 letters, all caps, and it was like, this had me worried. And I
Oh,
was
you
like,
talked about it. It was the TL.
It was TL.
The
their
timeline.
Timeline. It was their Twitter timeline.
Oh.
And I just thought, I had to have been like 7 different Urban Dictionaries to figure out what was going on.
It's the
Or just,
abbreviations that
it's
are the worst
it's
nowadays.
yeah, or just like I had to like wiki it and then
Mm.
cross-reference with, and then finally, anyway, this has been a good segment.
I get
This has been We Need a Millennial. Do you volunteer
Yeah.
on Screen
Help us
Junkies
out.
News?
I think millennials may be too old.
I
at
know,
this point.
millennials
I
are
think
now-
we need the
I
next
guess-
one
Well,
down.
actually, we're the millennials. What's
Yeah.
wrong with that? We're not
I'm-
millennial enough.
I'm in the.
We
I
need
don't
Gen
know if I
Z.
am or not.
Huh?
Gen Z. We need a
Yeah,
Gen
we need
Z.
a Gen Z.
We're all early millennial, I think.
We just
Yeah.
need a zygote.
We need a psycho.
We need them. That's just, if you can provide us with a zygote, we'd be so
If you've
grateful.
just formed 5 fingers, you can tell us how to text.
Apply here at Screen Junkies News. Hey guys, you know it's not brand. Hey guys. Where did Hey Guys come from? Let's just do the inception around Hey Guys. Let's make a
Hey,
whole.
where's
I
Hey,
assume
you
that
guys.
Hal Rudnick is singing to.
Hey, guys.
Hey guys.
Hey guys. Anyway, hey guys, did you know that Danny Boyle, who was going to be directing the next James Bond movie, has left it via because of creative differences? This is
Oh,
via
I thought
THR.
He should play Bond.
This is a bummer because producers
More like a Bond
Michael.
villain.
He does look like a villain. Danny Boyle is truly one of my favorite directors of all time, so I was really looking forward to seeing what he was going to do here. Producers Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli and Daniel Craig made an announcement today that he would be exiting the project, which he had been set to direct. And apparently it's due to creative differences. This is amongst a lot of chatter around Bond, which there already is in terms of who is going to be the next James Bond, what's sort of happening in the next iteration of the franchise. This movie had been set to begin production in December, so wow, they're pretty close to try and get a new director now. The release date is in the US November 8th, 2019, and the UK October 25th, 2019, with Universal distributing international and MGM domestically, if you cared about that. So I am really saddened by this because I was very curious what he was going to bring to the Bond franchise, but I'm also wondering what those creative differences were.
Daniel Craig has had a really stormy era as James Bond. There was like there was the rights thing, which kind of delayed the initial thing with Casino Royale, and then Quantum of Solace, which is a writer's strike movie. It wasn't very good because it basically didn't have a script. Then it was a 4-year break, and you had Skyfall, which I loved and was great. Then a 3-year break, you had Spectre, which I didn't think was great. I was looking this up, and I didn't realize he's now tied with Roger Moore as the
Wow.
longest tenured James Bond. Roger Moore was
Not,
Bond.
not as the most movies.
Not
but
the most
longest,
movies,
yeah.
Fewest movies, longest tenure,
No, yeah, Roger Moore was Bond for 12 years. This is Daniel Craig's 12th year as James Bond.
and he's done 3 so far.
He's done 4 films. Roger Moore did 7 in 12 years. Craig
He's
has done
done
4.
4?
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace,
Quantum,
Skyfall, and Spectre.
and Spectre. Oh, okay.
So, I mean, he's going to become, if he stays on this project, he's going to become the longest tenured James Bond with a very, I think, spotty record on movies and the longest layoffs between movies. Those things used to come out every 2 years, like clockwork when you had a Bond. So this has been a very weird, like, creative and just time for the franchise. I love Casino Royale and I love Skyfall, but I honestly think it's time to move on.
From Daniel Craig.
From Daniel
Craig,
Craig.
yeah.
I do. The last movie I think was an out for him. It made sense for that to be his last Bond movie. And
He certainly at the time sounded like he would like it to be.
yeah, he said he said he'd rather slit his wrist.
Yeah,
than
that
play
was an
James Bond
indication
again.
that he was done.
That's actually how Bond 25 is going to end.
Gonna slit his wrist.
Yeah, with a minor
Suicide.
key version of the Bond theme.
Do you think that this has not been a great career move for him then, as he's been tied up for the last 12 years? Well, not completely tied up, but
Oh, please.
You think
this
it's been amazing?
Yes.
It's made it.
Come on. You get to be James Bond. You get to be James Bond in Casino Royale, which completely reinvigorates the franchise. It's something no one ever would have thought of you before. It propels you into superstardom. Oh, no.
It's one of the few great gritty reboots. There
Yeah,
aren't too many of
it
those.
truly is. And I'm not saying that he is, by the way, that wasn't like me scolding Daniel Craig, because I don't know how he feels about it now. He has backed off those comments. But to me, a situation like that, you've got to be grateful. I mean, you just have to be grateful for that opportunity. Once you're done, that's okay.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're complete.
There's just a commitment to the role that every other actor I think has shown it, in the sense that it's like they all would make one movie a year or one every other year. I mean, like that was like they were for the time that they were James Bond, that's largely what they were, was James Bond. And Daniel Craig has been in a lot of other things, which is fine. I'm not knocking him for taking other work, but I think part of it has led to longer layoffs between movies, more creative, different. I mean, Spectre was kind of like going through a bunch of stuff. Skyfall, like I said, there was a 4-year break. There's been rights issues. It's just been a really weird time for James Bond, and as a fan, I think I would prefer that they just take this as perhaps a sign that it's time to reconfigure things and try to launch again, because you got Mission Impossible out there now, which is outclassing
And Kingsman.
and movies like Kingsman, and I just feel like it's time to reinvent again, as much as I love Craig.
Or go back to basics, man. Like, I would love if Bond 25 is just like a pretty straightforward in the, I don't want somewhere in between Spectre and Casino Royale. Like, I think that there is a lane for just a classic spy movie that doesn't rely on, some preternaturally young tiny man flipping off of a tall thing, Speaking of Tom Cruise, if you didn't get that. But that doesn't rely on stunts so much as like coolness and gadgets. And I think I feel like Kingsman kind of fell off and Bourne kind of fell off. So now there is room for two spy franchises. They've waited the other ones out. And now I'm ready for just another down the middle Bond movie.
Mission and Bonds. And I think also, how do you guys feel about, I think it could return to its roots in the sense of you don't necessarily need a ton of elaborate lore about his feelings about his childhood. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. They just never really paid it off properly. Had that been done really well, I thought that could have been cool, but it wasn't, in this woman's opinion.
And if you want a franchise that can compete with Mission Impossible as far as spectacle goes, that is James Bond, because that so many that is what they do. They're one of the few franchises that can go over the top, not in a Moonraker way or a Die Another Day Diamond Satellite way.
I
Invisible
have
Cars.
an affection for Moonraker and that level of over the topness.
But they can be.
Does
kind
Jaws
of,
marry an alien in that at the end? He leads on the moon.
He goes on the moon.
And he's like happy at the end.
Yeah,
like,
but he's like,
I'm gonna live on the moon now.
But it's like we're rooting for Jaws, which is a whole issue in and of
anyways,
itself.
yeah.
I feel like the Fast and the Furious has riffed a lot on that idea of like, now the villain's our friend and they're also on the moon.
Yeah.
Coming to view in Furious 9.
Yes. The villain is also. That's going to be the tagline. The villain is also on the moon.
And then it's just a car coming through a crater on the moon.
That would be awesome. Tyrese, how are we on the moon right now? Where's my spaceship?
Jason Statham's evil twin.
It writes itself.
Yeah.
This is the best movie of 2020.
Yes.
Being written right here. Bond also, though, is wish fulfillment, right? Because it's like, fancy cars, like
part of it,
crazy
yes.
gadgets.
But they've taken it in kind of like a dark way where it's
Yeah.
like it's wish fulfillment, like where you have post-traumatic stress for strangling people and like you do weird things in a shower, and it's like it's not the old school like consequence-free fun Bond. It's like your actions have weight, and I'm not saying that's good or bad if you do it right. Not in the real world, in the movie,
Yeah.
but they it's not escapism anymore. These Bonds,
Grim fulfillment.
yeah, like a Watchmen style fulfillment.
Yeah, I guess you're right. What do you want out of your Bond, Roxy?
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. I have a hard time with Bond movies. So something good. I feel as if when I go to movies, a lot of times there does have to be consequences, which is not 95% of the Bond movies. So I don't care.
Okay.
I really like of all the franchises, I am the least critical of this one at this point because I don't think it was made for me.
Okay. I want to talk further about this. We don't have to do it right now because I don't want to I don't want to force you to unpack your Bond feelings.
I haven't seen all of the Bond
curious.
movies that I should have. I've only seen like 3 Bond movies ever, and they were all fine. And he's a fine character, and it's fine.
It's fine. Leave us out of it.
Good
Pull
pull
quote
quote.
from Bond.
Did I do a good job explaining my feelings on that? Well, I don't hate the
fine.
films. I just don't feel like I'm the art. If I don't like the character that much, I'm just not the target demo.
No,
Like,
that's
yeah.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. You know who you are the target demo for is Chris. Well, actually, Dan is the target demo for this next story because it involves his favorite Chris, Hemsworth, who admits that Thor 2 isn't very good. This is via EW and GQ. This is a profile in GQ. He took a dig at Thor: The Dark World, saying the first one is good. The second one, meh. What masculinity was, the classic archetype, it all just starts to feel very familiar. I was so aware that we were right on the edge. He went on to talk about, he had talked about with Kimmel, sort of saying they wanted to shake things up for Thor, but this is kind of the first time he's openly been like, it just wasn't that good. But he was talking about meeting with Taika Waititi and saying, let's just break everything and destroy it and rebuild it. This is Taika saying this to Chris Hemsworth. And he said, every day was about exploring the unknown and trying something different. I had gotten pretty bored of myself as that character, as did he, and maybe a few other people out there. So we thought, let's do something different, which is exactly what that movie does. It just kind of resets all of it. And Taika's intention going into it was to make Thor the more interesting character because so long people were like, Team Loki, Thor's boring. Anyway, but Alan Taylor, who directed The Dark World, has said pretty openly, he said, the Marvel experience was particularly wrenching because I was sort of given absolute freedom while we were shooting, and then in post it turned into a different movie. So that is something I hope to never repeat, and I don't wish upon anyone else.
This was also the movie that Idris Elba famously said, this is torture, man. I don't want to do this. My agent said, you have to. It's part of the deal. He said, 24 hours ago, I was Mandela, and here I am in a stupid harness with a wig and a sword. It just ripped my heart out. So it sounds like Thor: The Dark World was not fun for anybody.
I rewatched
Nobody's
this
favorite.
recently.
Idris, our new Bond.
It's very bad.
Yeah.
I was hoping that like it would have changed since the last time I saw it.
It's
and
got
it
its
didn't.
defenders.
Oh God.
Not here.
Oh God.
a little bit.
I felt like
You're a
there
defender?
was a Screen Junkie. Oh, was it you? I knew there was a Screen
Joe.
Junkie that liked Joe.
I think Joe likes it.
Is it Joe?
Yeah.
Someone likes it on our team.
I will defend it as not being as horrible as many people paint it. Only because I think that the final action sequence is pretty inventive. The way that they use the different portals and they're flying into the different
The
worlds
realms,
and
yeah.
the different realms and like that for me saved it. If it had just been I'm gonna yell at the shouty man with the Kool-Aid, then I think that it would have been way down for me. But I do think that there's a few inventive things that they do in that movie that saved it for me. It's certainly not top of the pack. It's toward the bottom for me, but I don't think it's as horrible as everyone else does. That said, I also defend Iron Man 2 for not being as horrible as everyone else thinks it is. So I might just be weird.
I understand that more. I think this might be the worst movie in the MCU.
Yeah, it's not good.
I agree, Dan. I think I could say that about any movie, though, that there's something that I'm like, okay, that part was not that bad. And you're right, it wasn't. But gosh, this movie was not fun. It was not entertaining. It did not grip you. It was like one of those movies where 15 times I was like, do I have to go to the bathroom again? Just so I could pause it. Like,
You didn't like the comedic interplay of Stellan Skarsgård and Kat Dennings?
no.
Oh,
I had blocked that out.
I did think that
had blocked
Malekith is
that
the
out.
worst. Is the poster boy for the forgettable, completely inconsequential Marvel
Yeah.
villain. He is the ultimate example of just the worst of the blandest.
Yeah.
to me,
Not
it's
terrible,
like,
just like
yeah.
Is it a coincidence that he is the most ungrateful doctor?
Oh, interesting. Well, don't get us started on Doctor Who. That's going to be a whole other thing.
Coincidence? I think not.
I'm just shocked that there was ever a good Thor movie. You know, Thor's a dumb character.
really is.
He's a really dumb character and really hard to make a compelling thing about. He's a big, dumb Viking god. They didn't even create him. They just took the Norse pantheon and said, "You're in a comic book now." It's a stupid idea. That the fact that Taika Waititi made it interesting, and even the first Thor made it compelling.
Yeah, I thought the first one was okay.
Hemsworth.
Oh.
Hemsworth slams.
Ooh, Hemsworth. We're
Chris
from
Hemsworth.
Boston today.
What's that?
I love a good Hemsworth.
It's my hammer.
You want some
Hemsworth slams
chowder?
Thor.
Hemsworth throwing that chowder over at the Marvel.
Oh, Hemsworth slams. No Hemsworth slams.
Ooh. I will say, if his name was Hemsworth and he was from Boston, I think he would be the most superior.
Yeah, take
Chris.
Loki to Duncan. We'll settle it out over a Krella.
If you were actually from there, you would call it donkeys. Next question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, JT. I
Wait, you
said
from
it before
South
someone else could.
Whatever, man. Whatever.
Framingham?
The reason my parents didn't name my sister Star. Star.
Yeah.
She went with Sky
Star.
instead. Star.
But same last name?
Striar?
Striar?
It was brutal. They told everybody her name's gonna be Star, and people were like, Star, and they're like, oh no, what have we done?
That sounds like a bad Marvel
what is
villain.
her name?
Striar.
Sky.
Sky.
It was the closest thing to the stars.
Stop
Sky
trying.
Striar.
Wicked smart.
They may or may not have smoked a lot of weed, so
Yeah.
that was what they were looking at
It
the
happens.
time.
Can I talk
Anyway.
about Boston? This reminds me of Mark Wahlberg.
Sure. I
And
wish you
how-
would.
Are you talking about Hal Jordan?
No, but this is I'm not gonna say who it is, but it was one of the weirdest meta moments in any movie. I went and saw Mile 22 last weekend.
I haven't seen it yet. Any good?
Not great, but the Iko Uwais from the Raid is great in it. Except they cut his action scenes to tatters, which is really depressing because he's a great fighter, and it's just like cut. And it's like, ugh. He's definitely the highlight of the movie.
Watch The Raid and The Raid 2.
But there's a part in the movie where the villain, and I won't say who it is, there's a part in the movie where the villain, like his kiss-off line to Mark Wahlberg is, "Say hi to your mother for me." But it's such a weird
That
thing
has
of
to be
like,
awesome.
but
I'm
it's,
seeing
but
it
it's
now.
supposed to be like menacing.
Say hi to your mother.
Like that's
for me.
supposed to be
No,
like
they knew what they were
That's
doing.
supposed to be
Your
like the
mother for
hat
me.
tip, like
That's
the
no
Kaiser
coincidence.
Soze moment,
Yeah.
where like you realize that he's the bad guy, but it's such a weird thing of like, but that's only relevant to Mark Wahlberg in the real world. It's
Yeah.
not relevant to his character in
Wow.
any way. So it's a weird meta moment of like this, like kind of like reference to a parody of the Boston character that Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg played, used in a movie starring a different Mark Wahlberg
Yeah.
character in a context that makes no sense.
Did it not work?
Well, Mara hadn't seen the
Oh.
Andy Samberg sketch, so she was like, what was that part where the guy said say hello to his mother? Like, was that a callback to something in the
Wait,
movie?
was there a plot point around his mother?
His mom?
No.
Oh my God.
It was a reference
That's
to the Mark
amazing.
Wahlberg
So
comedy
it was
bit.
It
but
was like
out
it
of-
was
I
as if
love
that's like
that.
a threat, like
Right.
like as if it was say hello to my little friend.
It's like he turns
say
to us and he's
hello
like,
to your mother
he's
for
like,
me.
What'd you just say? What'd you just say to me?
That's
What'd you
amazing.
say? What'd you say? And like it's just like, but he has no reason to be upset about
But like
that
it was
in the
a,
context
but
of
like,
the movie.
but like
Yeah.
it was a Yo Mama joke, or
Either
like,
as a Yo Mama joke, or in this universe, is it
Yo
like
Mama
was it
secret.
Ocean's 12 or 13 where they play up like, oh, you look just like Julia Roberts, where he's a secret government killer, but he looks like Mark Wahlberg?
It was the weirdest, like, wannabe meta thing that made no sense in context of the rest of the movie.
I wonder how many people were like, huh?
No, but that's
Or
the thing. If
laughing.
you don't know the Andy Samberg bit, then that makes no sense why, like, because he's, like, super upset in the movie. He's like, what'd you just say? What'd you just say? And it's like, but why would he be upset about that unless it's the That is a weird movie.
Do you think it was an improv line and he just got mad because he doesn't like that sketch?
No, I don't.
was
It
like a real
felt like
moment.
the
Yeah.
kind of thing that he and Peter Berg cooked up. Is
And
like,
they were like,
this is going to be
it,
hilarious.
like-
Which is also funny because Mark Wahlberg famously hated that sketch.
Yeah, but
So-
maybe he was trying to like take it back,
Uh-huh.
you know?
I guess.
And he was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like we have the next. I'll be back. It's say hello to
Yeah.
your mother."
I feel like
But that
Andy
would be
Samberg needs to do a
like-
second sketch now of that scene, like when something makes no
I'm making
sense.
"Say Hello to Your Mother" for my t-shirts.
That would be like us taking that Boston bit and putting it in an honest trailer and expecting the audience in the honest trailer to also have seen this bit here
Yeah.
and understand why that is is so weird. So yeah, Boston is infiltrating even
Wow.
the Mark Wahlberg.
I gotta watch that.
non-Boston.
That's just shot to
he
the top
was,
of my list above
Boston knows
Gotti.
how to do it.
He was Boston, via Boston, in the Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know
I'm from
what?
Texas.
I think I found your mother. That didn't work. But you know what did? The show. Thanks so much for joining
Hey.
us, you guys. We have the
Happy
honest
Tuesday.
trailers are up. Ooh, it's the big honest trailer. This is the return. This is the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool honest trailer.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the yay team.
Yay.
I mean every week, but
I mean, yay, Ryan. We
Yeah.
just asked. He did the work.
Yeah.
but you asked.
Yeah. But we asked.
We did ask.
And asking is half the battle.
Yes.
It really is, and it's awesome.
90% of the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excited. There's a small minority that is upset that we didn't actually do an honest trailer for Deadpool 2, to which I would say we gave you Deadpool himself.
Yeah.
So
And watch the commentary because we talk about what we would have said, and it's not much.
Yeah. And also,
Yeah.
Deadpool wanted it. Deadpool wanted
Deadpool
it.
gets what Deadpool wants.
That's
Yes.
exactly
Whatever
right, Spencer Gilbert.
Deadpool
Anyway, it's very
wants.
exciting. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you've
Deadpool
certainly
gets.
already seen that and the commentaries, but you should sure check it out. And we have a very special movie fights tomorrow because it's
Thursday.
Nick Monday, Thursday. What is it, really only Tuesday?
it is indeed.
Ah, damn it. But anyway, on Thursday,
Oh, wow.
Nick Monday is going to return and he's bringing animals like kittens and puppies. I think. Are we going to
see.
hold a puppy?
We're gonna certainly try. It is for Rescue LA, which is an animal shelter. So we're gonna try to bring some fun friends with us.
Can I hold a cat?
Is he fighting the
I
animals?
I can't physically stop you, so yes, sure.
Roth cam with the cat. Okay, we will see you Thursday with the animals. And then later for movie fights.